Evening, everyone, and welcome to webinar 6 for the Sunshine Coast Level Up program. Tonight's webinar is on online accounting and payroll. It's number 6 in a series of 12 webinars across a range of different topics as part of this program. If this is your first time to attend one of our webinars for the program, the Level Up program is an initiative by Sunshine Coast Council, heavily subsidised by them, aimed at helping small and medium businesses connect where possible to the NBN, which is coming to the Sunshine Coast, or where possible to upgrade to faster internet so that you can use some of the amazing online technology and digital tools available to businesses. So throughout this program, we cover various different areas of the digital world, with the idea being that wherever you are in your business journey from a digital perspective, that you can move up a level, learn something new, and hopefully and ultimately improve productivity, profitability, and efficiency within your business. So this is me. My name's Katrina Lees. I am a partner in the Creative Collective. Our company was successful in winning the tender with Sunshine Coast Council to design, develop and facilitate this program to Sunshine Coast businesses. My background, I had very humble beginnings with our company as an intern way back in about 2007. These days, I'm actually a partner in the organisation and we operate on a national basis in the creative space, specialising in digital marketing. I've got a graphic design background, but I've very much diversified my degree across communication and marketing subjects. These days I work in our business mainly from an operation perspective, and I very much take a lead on the financial and accounting side of the business as well. Also worthwhile to mention that I worked in the accounting industry for a number of years as a marketing manager, so I know this content very well as well. I'm in very good company tonight with Melanie Jacobson, who is the owner of Sunshine Coast accounting firm MJJ Accounting and Business Solutions. Mel is a total gun at what she does. She has been a business owner from a very young age and has definitely got some great credentials under her belt, including a number of different positions on boards over the years. She was also Young Businesswoman of the Year in 2008 for the Sunshine Coast Businesswomen's Network and Caloundra Business Person of the Year in 2009. So over to you, Melanie, to fill in the gaps and introduce yourself to our audience tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm Melanie. I've been accountant for 17 years and my passion is working with small business owners to understand their numbers and to help them take the pain out of bookkeeping and financial stress. So that's why I'm quite passionate about the topic we have tonight. So if you have any questions through the time, just feel free to ask us.
Absolutely. So we'll be keeping an eye on the chat throughout the webinar tonight, guys. Guys and girls, I should say. What we'll do, if anything's relevant at the time, chat through your questions as they arise. If we don't answer them throughout the presentation, there will be question time at the end. We'll make sure that they are all covered. If you've got any technical issues this evening in terms of sound issues or we drop out, please let us know on the chat and we'll do our best to rectify it. I do have a backup recording going as well, so if we do have any issues with this recording, we can of course fix it up for the online version. So over to, I guess, the topic of online accounting and payroll. So tonight, guys, you're going to learn about, the different online accounting and payroll options available out there. We'll give you some tips in terms of what to look for when selecting a system. We'll look at options for online payroll, and some of the benefits also of doing your online quoting or online invoicing online, and some of the cool things and features that you can do with that, such as auto reminders, integrations, etc. So lots of cool stuff to cover tonight. This really is an introduction to the subject. Some of you will know parts of the content, hopefully learn something new. As our webinars continue over the next couple of months, we will delve deeper into some of the things that we'll touch on this evening. So Mel, tell us what online accounting is.
So online accounting really, it's been around for a number of years, but the last 5 years is when it's really taken off. And it's using, rather than the old days where you had your MyOb or your QuickBooks on your desktop and one person accessed it or a couple of people in the firm accessed it, and then to send it to an accountant or someone outside the office, you had to do a backup and then no one could work on it whilst you were doing it. We now have online systems where you can have people from all over the world accessing your data when you give them permission, which means that from an accountant's point of view, we can give you real-time information rather than just basing our information on historic data because we're waiting for information to come to the office. And if you've got a question, you can phone up and someone can help you on the spot. So online accounting is, the big value in it is it's real-time reporting for business. So you can see exactly where you're at every day if you get everything coded. And it also has enabled ease of reporting. So there's so many things which we'll go through tonight, such as bank feeds and tracking expenses, all those sort of things which are done, which are time saving for you as a small business owner to be able to produce your own financials. For smaller businesses now, they don't need the help of a bookkeeper as much. They can just get help once a quarter rather than having someone come in every month because the systems are based as user-friendly, that people with no accounting experience can use them, which is a big win.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on the fact that you can give various different people access and permission, such as your accountant, or if you do have a bookkeeper or accounts person, you can assign them access to your online accounting platform and, you know, control what information they can access in there through permissions, etc. So if you needed to give team members or colleagues certain access to certain financials, generally you're able to do so. So puts more control in your hands as a business owner. So tell us why, you know, why should we consider online accounting system? What are some of the benefits, you know, that most of your clients, you know, these are important factors to them when they come to you and say, you know, set me up with an online accounting system?
The biggest benefit they see is that they can access it 24/7 from anywhere they are. So if I travel a lot each year, and no matter where I am, I can see exactly what my business is doing because I can log on as long as I have internet. The other thing is the admin time they save. Is there's so many new features in there that just makes it easier for them to keep up to date. And the ability to get assistance, like if they need to ask their bookkeeper a question or the accountant, they're not trying to explain what they're seeing on their screen. We can log in and we can both be looking at the same screen at the same time. Also, there's so many features in there with rules and coding that cuts down the errors, that if you've got a staff member helping you, that you can cut those errors down by creating the rules, and that which will, one, cut down the time that they need to do things, but it'll also ensure that things are done the same way every time, which is really big from my point of view, in the time that you have to spend with an accountant to fix things up. If it's done the same time, and then also, you know, you're getting more accurate reporting. Yeah, and all your things, everything with the plugins that you can get. So a plugin is other programs that will talk to your Xero. It means that you can have the one program, but your CRM, your customer relationship system might talk to it and that. So you've not got the double entry, which we've seen in the past, where if you're using something like MyOb and then you've got another system that doesn't feed in. So you've got 3 or 4 different databases of your client information. Now a lot of the systems all feed into one, so that you've just got one time to set things up, which is a huge saving for you.
Yeah, absolutely. From my perspective as a business owner and using online accounting, it's created enormous efficiencies in our business through things such as billing reminders. So unlike old paper invoices where, you know, you handwrite an invoice and you give it to your customer or your client. Let's say if you were an electrician and you had a call out, for example, by issuing an online invoice, you can also set reminders so that if that invoice is unpaid, you know, an automatic follow-up email is sent up to 7 days, 14 days, 1 month, 30 days, you know, whatever it may be. That's been one massive time-saving, excuse me, aspect in our business. The other aspect which you touched on, and I'm sure we'll go into in more details, is the kind of rules you can create for transactions that are automatically feeding into your accounting software. So rather than having to, you know, every time manually code it to a chart of accounts and match it to an invoice, etc., online accounting is really, really clever in that it can anticipate, you know, what invoice, say some income on your bank statement is going to be assigned to based on matching, say, the amount or the client name. So things like that just create enormous efficiencies in your business. And, you know, I think as a business owner, you know, makes this a really valuable exercise. So guys, text chat in. We'd love to hear if you're currently using an online accounting system in your business. If so, which system do you use? Let us know if you have any, you know, bugbears with it. Is there any particular limitations that you've found in it? Perhaps we can sort of throw around some ideas for those at the end. Likewise, let us know what you love about them, or if they've created any, you know, really enormous efficiencies in your business. We'd love to know. So like anything, there's, you know, obviously pros and cons to moving to an online accounting system. Take us through some of these, Mel, from your perspective.
The big downside on moving to online accounting, I found, is security concerns is the first and foremost. But as we do more and more online, I don't find that's as big a question, whereas 5 years ago, majority of people wouldn't move online because of that. And the companies that are offering this, they're quite strict with where they house the data and how they do the backups and that, so that you don't lose your information. Internet connections, that can be an issue. I know there's programs such as MyOb where you can use it either in the cloud or on your desktop. So that program has sort of counteracted that issue for people, whereas others haven't. So it is something to be mindful if you do have internet issues. But I've noted a lot of clients are going to NBN, and that once they're up and going, they are finding it better to use with the online systems. Staff change, it's just about teaching them. It's like any change of any system. People are fearful of the unknown, but the majority of people I've had that have changed systems wouldn't go back. And I've had a lot of clients who have no accounting experience who've picked up online accounting and just been blown away with how easy it is, and they do an actual really good job with it. The bank feeds is probably the biggest winner, and majority of programs actually use it. And this just cuts down the issues that we've had in the past. I don't know how many of you online tonight are business owners who use desktop of programs, but the trying to reconcile a bank account if you've got thousands of transactions in a month and you've missed 3 or 4 transactions sometimes can be really difficult. So this just cuts that issue down. But there is a fee for the programs, which people who've been on desktop programs before that haven't had payroll involved haven't had to probably pay the fee every month for their systems because they haven't got the upgrades. But the benefit of the subscription is you know that your software, it's always backed up, and it's also the program's always up to date. The big upsides, as we talked about, they are secure. There's the backups. There's you get real-time data. That's the biggest thing. The only downside to going online is if you don't do it properly. Like, you have to spend the time and set the system up right. If you don't spend the time in setting it up right, it's going to be like your online systems. It's not going to give you the information you need. So that's where, if you use the systems right and you start off small and then keep adding features on, such as coding, where it automatically codes things, that then will cut down the human error. So the more you can use what the systems are designed for, the less human error that can come into it, which just saves your time in the end. And it also means that if you're not doing your own financial reports, you can be confident in what's actually happening.
Absolutely. So guys, just a reminder from webinar 5 last week, we covered off a little bit about bank feeds, but just to recap on that, we've got the information on the screen here. If you weren't on webinar 5 and you missed that one, it is available online, guys, if you'd like to watch that one back. So it was basically on online banking. We covered off things like bank feeds and FPOS facilities and transacting online, point of sale type stuff. But basically bank feeds let you automatically import account transactions into Xero. And what's really cool about these is some of those things we touched on. So, you know, putting rules in place, you know, the programs can be quite intuitive to match, you know, income or expenses to invoices or purchases within your online accounting software and things like that. Plus just the sheer convenience of, you know, those bank feeds automatically landing in your accounting system on a daily basis, as opposed to, you know, having to download and import statements and things like that, which can be really problematic right now.
Yes, yeah. And it stops the data entry, because people don't realize how long it takes to enter all the information manually. And you'll find that majority of the programs online will have the direct feeds. I know that QuickBooks Online, MyOb Online, and Xero are all three, and Zazu, they all have them set up. Some of them have different bank account, different ways to do it. But if you look at the help menu or talk to your accountant or bookkeeper, they can assist you with how to get it working. The one thing to remember though that we see as accountants is a lot of people think that then they don't have to do a bank reconciliation. These are still coming, like if something goes wrong with the bank fee, your bank may not be reconciling, or if there's a coding error, there's lots of things that can go wrong. So you still do need to do a bank reconciliation every month just to make sure that your feeds are working correctly. Because we do see a lot of clients who think that they can skip that step then, and that's where they get themselves into a little bit of a pickle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we presented last week, you know, Xero, for example, which is one of the options we'll look at in a couple of slides time, but, you know, there were over 70 banks and financial institutions that had, you know, direct bank feeds into Xero. And with MyOb Online, I believe there was over 110. So this is a massive area. You know, most decent sized banks, credit unions, or sort of even payment gateways like eWay or PayPal will generally have a feed through to online accounting programs is what we've found. So if you're not sure if you're already using an online accounting program, you can go to the help of those programs and sort of see what bank feeds are available with that platform. So we're going to touch here on auto follow-up of invoices and, you know, the impact that this can have in your business from a cash flow perspective. What's your take on this, Mel?
I think it's fabulous because it makes it very easy. I've got clients that send hundreds of invoices a month because they might have lots of small amounts that are due. So being able to automatically, with a few ticks, send out a reminder is fabulous. It's still, though, just one thing to bear in mind as a small business owner, just sending the reminder. If they haven't paid and it's getting to the second or third reminder, pick the phone up. I know in my business that's because often there's a problem and people just forget to tell you. So if you ring them, it will help, but this will help with the first two, because a lot of times people just forget about it and they get the first reminder and they're like, okay, I forgot about that, let's just get onto it. And making it as easy as possible for people to pay and be reminded is the easiest way to do it.
Absolutely. So this is one online accounting platform that we're going to be looking at in a little bit more detail tonight. You know, Xero, my knowledge of Xero, Mel, is that they entered the market and, you know, made really a massive impact as a disruptor because they sort of launched in as one of the first sort of online accounting systems. Is that correct?
Yeah, Xero started in New Zealand, and New Zealand were a lot quicker adapters than us in Australia because they came to us second. But Xero is probably the fastest growing at the moment, though I am noticing the other programs and that are starting to catch up. But Xero's just, it's got so many user-friendly features. There's two types of Xero. So there's a Xero that you can all get online, which is where you've got your payroll and your invoicing. But as accountants, we also have a cash book product for those clients who you might be doing Excel spreadsheets at the moment and you don't need to invoice, you just need to be able to record your income and expenses. So those products start at $10, $20 a month. So they're quite user-friendly to just get started online, and often clients will start on that, and then as their business grows, they'll go up to the next level of Xero. But Xero's got lots of different features in it, and if it's set up right, it can help you immensely with your business, and it's really user-friendly.
We use Xero in our business, and previously when I operated a franchise, I used Xero, and in those days, you know, I was a very small business and doing a lot of my own bookkeeping, etc. And I found Xero incredibly user-friendly to use, you know, intuitive. It was sort of, you know, with a little bit of nous, it was easy to sort of find my way around and know how to use it. And, you know, as our business has grown over the years, Xero's been able to grow with us. One feature that I love about Xero is the integration aspect. It integrates with so many different third-party systems with, you know, websites so that online orders can, you know, be you know, deposited into your Xero account, integrations with time tracking systems such as MinuteDoc, one that we touched on a couple of webinars back, which is pretty cool. So if you've got, you know, if you're a service-based business billing for time, then you can integrate it with, you know, support tracking systems and things like that. The reporting is fabulous as well. Yeah. Okay, next one on the list. Sorry, I think there's a bit of a delay with my slide transition here.
The next one on the list we're going to look at is MyOb Online, and I know that I see, Christine, you're using MyOb Online. And MyOb, they took a little longer to get their system in the clouds working well, but it's great now. They've got it working. The biggest benefit of MyOb over Xero is that you can work on it on your desktop, so you can take it out of the cloud and work on it and then put it back in the cloud. So I know for a few clients that have internet issues, they often do this. The biggest thing with all these systems is to talk to a bookkeeper or your accountant if you're not sure as to which system suits your business. Because I know for some of my clients, MyOb's a better system because it's got better inventory. I prefer the inventory system in MyOb. It's got the MyOb Online has the bank feeds, it has the help with the coding and all those sort of things that Xero has. It's got the superannuation that you can do as well, and its payroll system's brilliant. So it's got all those sort of features in that. So that's where it's important that you talk to someone to go, okay, what best suits me? Some accountants will only recommend certain products, but other accountants, like myself, I'll work with any client's accounting system. There's only one or two that I wouldn't work with, but the online systems, they're all really good.
So guys, I've just noticed that link is wrong on the bottom of the screen, so we'll make sure that's fixed up before we distribute slides. And of course, if you're a full program participant, there'll be a list of all the resources that will be in the portal as well. Also, I've just noticed here, Christine has mentioned that you can also take backups with MyOb as well, and that she's also said SuperStream is great.
Yeah, SuperStream's brilliant for both packages.
Yeah,
it just cuts down the errors.
Yeah. And just a quick question from Joe. Joe has asked, he says, I assume Xero is IFRS compliant.
I think it is, Joe. A lot of that's in the accountant side of Xero. So you need to just make sure if your accountant's set up Xero for you, that they've given you access to create those reports and the report packs.
Cool. Okay, next one, Sasu.
Sasu's not one you see a lot around. It's a great product. It's user-friendly. It's very similar to the other products. It's probably, it's not one I've used extensively with clients just because MyOb and Xero in the small business market seem to be a lot more prominent. But it's definitely one to check out. If your accountant's recommending it, it's slightly cheaper for things. And I know a lot of Brisbane accountants use this program, whereas I haven't seen as many coast accountants using the program. But it has the bank feed, so it looks after all things that small to medium businesses could need, and including your GST reporting.
Cool. All right, Wave app. This is one I'm not so familiar with. Take us through this.
Yeah, so Wave app's a good program. So if you're registered for GST, this is not necessarily a program I would recommend. Wave app's a free program, and I often use it with clients who they're just starting out in their business or they're doing a hobby business. And we do it with some of our not-for-profits that are smaller not-for-profit groups, because it doesn't really handle the GST, but it's a great program to get started on and to give it a go of doing the online accounting. And yeah, it's very easy to use. It's user-friendly. Your bank account feeds into it, and it's a free product. I also use it a lot with clients, and I know my staff do as well. If you're doing your personal budgets, where you want to see where the money from your personal bank accounts are going, this is a free product. So it's great to try on your personal bank accounts and just check where's the money going and what am I spending it on. And they've got some great reports there where you can have a look at what you've spent.
Cool. All right. Then we've got QuickBooks, which I noticed Joe had a question in terms of how you rate QuickBooks as an online system as well, Mel, if we could cover that off.
QuickBooks Online, it's not too bad. It's cost effective, to be honest. This is a system, I know it's used quite extensively in America, but this system's got lots of really cool reporting features in it, especially if you want to report different profit and losses per, like job profit and losses. Like if you're looking at, so for example, I've got a client who has a farming business and they have cattle and pigs and sheep, and we report profit and losses on each one separately, and this handles it really well. You can do it on MyOb and Xero as well very easily, but they've been using this product and they've been loving the data and that they can get out and the information. And for someone who's not ready, like Xero and MyOb, it's $50 a month, which for a very small bit, like for a small business, that can be a lot to start with. This is a great program to start on, and it's getting better and better as more people are getting on board.
We'll probably cover this off in a bit more detail shortly, but are all these accounting packages, do they have the payroll option, or do some have it and others don't?
The main systems I use payroll on is the QuickBooks, the MyOb, and the Xero. Most people will use MyOb and Xero because, like Christine said, it's that SuperStream or ClickSuper that's really good in those programs. But yeah, they're the three leading programs, and Zasus would have one as well. Okay. I just haven't used them for payroll.
Okay, cool. Guys, just something that I'll throw in the mix to think about as well, that and I'm sure Xero is not the only one to offer it, that some of these other ones will as well. But with Xero, for our business, we've also been able to set up some custom reports through tracking filters. So, you know, we can track revenue by staff members, but we also have, you know, different ways that we track income and expenses and cost of sales throughout different service areas of our business as well. So we can, you know, run a report and see, you know, what income we're deriving from web development as opposed to, you know, social media marketing, for example. So if there's a particular report that you in your business think, wow, I would love to be able to report on this, or I'd love to know, you know, what my salespeople are invoicing, or whatever it may be, whatever it is you want to track, talk to your accountant, and as part of your due diligence with working out what online system you should be on it, and communicate those things from the very beginning, so that they can sort of find the most appropriate system to suit your needs.
Yeah, perfect. Amber's just got a question here with the systems allowing you to run multiple small businesses through them. The systems are set up so that if you register, you have to set up separate files for separate businesses, especially if one's registered for GST and one isn't registered for GST, because they won't know which transactions are for what business to track them out. For the one not registered for GST, you might go for Wave or something which is a free program, whereas for the one that's registered for GST, you might choose to use something such as a QuickBooks Online or a MyOb or a Xero file, where it can track the GST and also help you with your BAS reporting.
Cool.
If you Zoho Books is just, it's mainly for, it's similar to Wave. I haven't had a lot of people use this one. This one's probably got more features that integrate into it, which is why people use it. But people tend to stick to the main systems, but this is one that is cost effective for small businesses starting up.
Yeah, cool. And just a quick question. No one has specifically asked it, but just in case anyone is wondering. So I guess that's, part of my role as a facilitator is to, think of things that people may want to know. But, do all of these options, Mel, have the option for bank feeds, or is that only with the big players like QuickBooks and Xero and MyOb?
I know Wave, you can import your bank statements.
Okay.
So that one definitely does. Zoho, I'm not sure about. Zasu does. I've just had Christine ask about Recon. So that's one not to get confused with if you've been around for a long time. So Recon used to have a license to run QuickBooks here in Australia, is how I understand it. And then there was QuickBooks in America. So there's two different QuickBooks type products online. One's a Recon, which is the old QuickBooks. And it's exactly like MyOb and those sort of things. That's probably been my preferred program when we were desktop, was QuickBooks or the Recon QuickBooks, just because if you're looking to do reporting, it had the most user-friendly to drill down as an accountant. And before we got all these online systems, it was the easiest for clients to pick up. And Recon, one that you've asked a question about, I think that might be your starting, which is more used by individuals. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I haven't had clients use that. So we'd have to have a look at that one for you. But I think that might be your starting Recon module, which is your old sole trader Recon, which would be probably similar to your Wave and your Zoho and your Xero ledger reporting program. But I can't guarantee that, sorry.
And we'll follow that up for you and get back to you with an answer to that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
FreshBooks is one, it doesn't have your GST and your BAS reporting, but it does have the interface for your invoicing and reports and all those sort of things. It was actually one of the first ones. It was one of the early online systems that they had. And you have to remember that in Australia, we're quite early adopters to online accounting. Like if you go to America, their online is probably about 10% of businesses, whereas here it's up to nearly 40 or 50%.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, it's probably a little bit ignorant of me, but I sort of assume that, we'd actually be more than that here in Australia, and it's very surprising to hear that the adoption rate in America is actually so low. FreshBooks is one that we actually, so I mentioned that we as a business use Xero, and for a long time we used FreshBooks for our online quoting and online invoicing because of the automated reminders and follow-up. And what we loved about FreshBooks early on was that we could issue an online quote and it could be digitally accepted. So, you know, the client accesses the quote and they hit the accept button on screen, and it's basically, you know, digitally encoded that they accepted the time and date and who by, etc. And so we used to integrate FreshBooks with Xero, and so all of our transactions would automatically feed into Xero for accounting purposes. We actually killed FreshBooks off about 2 years ago because Xero sort of, you know, with ongoing improvements, etc., you know, ticked all our boxes. So everything we then loved about FreshBooks we could do from Xero. But sorry to interrupt there, Mel. I just thought it
No, that's okay.
relevant to throw that in. But yeah, take us through, I guess, where this sits in the market anyway.
It sits more for your smaller businesses, and because it doesn't have necessarily the BAS and the ATO requirements, it's more for people that aren't registered for GST. The biggest advice I would give to people online tonight is to talk to accountants. Talk to your accountant or your bookkeeper or other people you know in business as to what systems they're using. For the fact that if you've got a question or an issue with something, it's easier if someone else has been doing it as well who can help you, because there's so many programs out there, and they all have different benefits and pros and cons according to your business, and it's hard tonight to go without knowing what everyone's business is like as to which one would suit you. But also, if you want to work with a certain accountant, some accountants only work with certain products, some aren't open to all products. I know there's some accountants out there that still don't use Xero. They only use MyOb and those sort of things. More are adaptable to different products now because we don't have the fees to pay to have all the products, because previously we had to buy all the licenses to use the products. But these products can save you time, but you just need to get the right one for your business, especially if you have inventory or you have lots of debtors or you want to measure certain things in certain reports. It's important you get the right product that will suit you then.
Cool. So a bit of a case study here, local business, Melanie Cheese. Tell us about these guys.
So these guys looked at all the different products. So they looked at Quicken, Recon, MyOb Online and Xero with their bookkeepers to look at, okay, which program was actually the best for them. And for them, it was MyOb was the best for them. So they stuck with MyOb and went to MyOb Online. And it's meant that they now can do their bookkeeping wherever they're based. They don't have to be at the farm to do the bookkeeping. And it means that the accountant can look at the file while they're working on the file, and they don't have to stop while the accountant's fixing something. And I don't know about anyone else if you've had the issue, which I'm sure Christina's had, where someone sent you a backup and you've loaded the wrong one. So then you've been working on the wrong file. So that's all done away with now because they're using MyOb Online and everybody can access it at the same time.
And just on that front, I remember when I worked as a marketing manager for an accounting firm, you know, when clients had to supply their MyOb files in, they're massive files. You know, zipped, they end up, you know, anywhere from 60 to 80 megabytes. So they're too big to email, and, you know, clients would literally have to put them on a USB stick or, you know, a CD back in those days. I haven't used a CD-ROM in years, but, you know, to actually physically take them in and hand it over to the accountants so that they could then open that file and work with it. You know, or use, like, you know, large file sending programs and things like that. So, you know, those days are gone with online accounting.
Yeah, definitely. And it could take, like in the old days, it could take a week to get a client's work in by the time the CD came, and then if something happened to the CD in the mail or they backed it up incorrectly, then we'd have to wait for another CD to be sent. Whereas now, if you've got a question, I can just log on and quickly answer your question without you having to wait to send stuff. Or I can, because I have access to my clients' Xeros and QuickBooks and MyObs, I can log on if I think something's happening and then give you a call and go, hey, I noticed you've got lots of debtors at the moment. What's happening? Is everything all right? Or I noticed you're behind with your bookkeeping. Do you need some help? Which means that we're talking real time, so that if you're having a cash flow issue, or at the moment we're doing tax planning, so it means I can look and see if people have got a big profit and go, you know what, we do need to have a look at something here. So it just makes it user friendly.
Very cool. So guys, just a little bit more homework here. If you're not already using online accounting, do a bit of research following this webinar into, which one might be suitable for you. Chat to your accountant. Put together a bit of a wish list on what you would like your accounting program to do. In an ideal world, what would just, I always use the term, what would save your life if, you could just automate it or, make that a really fast process. What would it do for you in your business if you could shave off, 10 hours a week bookkeeping, or, what is that, task when it comes to accounting that you just loathe doing, and, put together a bit of a wish list of must-haves and ideal to haves, and put it on your accountant to do some due diligence for you and make some recommendations as to an online accounting system. And we'd love to hear what they come back with, and or what you come up with in your research. If you're on the Facebook support group as a full program participant, then certainly let's keep the discussion going in there.
Yeah. And most of my clients save at least 10 to 20% of their time once they're using the online systems correctly, and if they get them set up correctly. Some are more, so it's worthwhile your time.
So I always like to bring this back to a cost factor as well, that when you're considering a program for $50 a month and you're sort of cringing at taking on an extra expense as a small business, what is your time worth? If you freed up 10 hours per week, is that 10 hours a week, or even if it was 10 hours a month, is that time worth more to you in your business, either generating sales or doing what you do best? You might incur that $50 expense, but you're saving money in those efficiencies. So certainly weigh that up when you consider the costs as well. So online payroll, let's get into this side of things, because there's probably lots of cool little things that people can do online, right, that they may not have known about when it comes to payroll.
Yeah, and all the programs have, like the main players all have a payroll feature in their program. And the biggest benefit of this is that it means that it cuts down on the typing errors. So people doing manual books, like then they go to type it into their accounting system. So if you put a 959 instead of 95, well then you've entered it wrong, which then means when you type it into your online banking system, you might type it wrong again. So it cuts down those errors, because that can be one of the issues in your business. Like no one wants to underpay or overpay their staff. So making sure it's correct, especially when it comes to super and those sort of things, is really important. And also it's cutting down the time. If you've got 10 employees, writing 10 payment slips at the 30th of June is not fun. Whereas with the online systems and the desktop as well, you can automate all of this so that then you know that the group certificates you're giving out match what you actually paid once you've done all the reconciliations, and it's easy for your accountant to give you a hand.
So guys, we'd obviously love to cater this content wherever possible to all of you who have made an effort to join us tonight. So let us know in the chat how you're currently managing your payroll, so that we can apply this information to you where possible. Are you doing it in-house? Are you using a payroll service? Perhaps you're not currently processing any payroll, or have other challenges in this area. So let us know. Okay, so next, online payroll typically includes a range of different services. Take us through these, Mel.
So the main benefits of sorry, I'm just reading some of the questions you all have. Yep. Okay, so the main benefits is what I touched on before, is the ease of processing. The other big thing is with a lot of these systems is it means that you're not stuck. Like in the old days when they had some of the desktop systems, it meant that if you lost a staff member, it was actually, if you had a significant payroll system, it was hard to find another person who could use that system to then take over really easily. So that's one thing that I find with these online systems. More people can use it, which means you've got more options as an employer as to who you're hiring or what bookkeepers you're taking on to do what in your systems. They can track all your holiday leave. A lot of them can have a portal where the staff can enter their timesheets, enter their leave requests. So it cuts down your time in having to do things. Also, it cuts down the human error. So if you're using your payroll correctly, where you're entering it online and then you're using, which you probably touched on last week, was your ABA files, which you can then upload to your bank to pay your employees. It means that you're not doing that data entry, because that's the biggest thing for me, is the data entry is where people make the errors, which can be the issue, because it's quite easy to type a 59 or a 95. So that's where a lot of people I see don't actually use it. So I had a client only 18 months ago where I was there, and I was mortified when they told me they still did, they had 30 staff and they still paid them all by cash. Put it through the payroll system, but yeah, they still counted out everyone's pay. So their savings was significant once we went to online payments. And it meant that my job was easier at the end of the year to do the group certificates or the pay-as-you-go summaries, because it was all reconciled. What they'd actually paid was actually what went to the bank, whereas clients I have that manually enter it often will have a typing error or a discrepancy, which then the staff get confused. And it also cuts down fraud, because I've had clients in the past where they would go and pay. I had one significant case where the bookkeeper was actually paying some person's overtime to herself, whereas if we would have had the ABA and all that set up, which wasn't available back then, that would have been harder to be done, for that to be done.
So Mel, can you explain a little bit more about what ABA is for those that may not know what you're talking about there?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, an ABA file is one where it's a type of file that you export from your payroll system and then you import it into your online banking. So some banks require you to register to use the system, but most of them just accept them now. So it's just a file that you'll save to your desktop and then you import it. And what it does is it just takes all the employees' names, their bank account details, and how much you want to pay them, and to what bank accounts, because sometimes people have multiple bank accounts. And it'll take it all and then it'll just produce it as sort of one transaction for you through your payroll system, which means then you see that one transaction come. So when you're reconciling your payroll, it's easier to reconcile through your bank account rather than having 30 separate lines for each employee.
Cool. All right. So what about the costs involved in online payroll?
A lot of the systems now are including it in their costs. I know Xero, that's probably one of its downfalls, is it does get more expensive the more employees you have, whereas some of the others have more a flat rate. It's just looking, and that's where I come back to talking to your accountant as to how many staff you've got and what you plan to do in the future, because the program you have today might not be the best for what you're planning to do in 5 years' time if you're planning to triple in size. So that's where it's sitting down with your accountant and working out what you actually need, and how you pay your staff as well. Like if you've got lots of different lines and that, different programs might be better for you. So it's just working out. Like I know I've got some people that have FBT and salary sacrifice and so many different things that sometimes some products are better than others to handle those.
Yeah, I mean, all of these systems, you know, there's a time and a place for them, and these this content, these webinars, is about providing you with, you know, an objective view as to all the options on the market, so that you're a little bit more informed when you go out and do your own research. So, you know, understanding what your key requirements are and communicating them to your accountant or your bookkeeper will help you identify which is the best one for you. Joe, I noticed you're actually in the process of establishing a new business. You let us know on chat there, and you've mentioned that you're leaning towards Xero or MyOb. So probably a key consideration for you is, you know, whether you're going to have payroll initially, and anticipating what your needs may be in the coming years as well.
biggest tip I would give people as well is to get your accountant or your bookkeeper to set your payroll up correctly from the start, especially if you've got staff that are salary sacrificing and those sort of things, because the terminology and the help can get confusing at times. So if you get it set up right from the start, it makes it really easy. And I know we've got fact sheets for clients when they want to add new employees. So you can do it yourself after we do the initial, but if we set it up correctly at the start, you'll know that it's feeding correctly into your profit and loss and your balance sheet and those sort of things. So yeah, it's money well spent.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Christine's mimicking that advice as well. And she said on the chat that setup is an investment. Absolutely right. So some account systems combine payroll and offer some of the features that you can see on screen. Take us through, I guess, some of the different features that we can see on screen, and it probably is a good lead into our next slide on add-ons of your online accounting system.
Yeah, so you've got flexible pay calendars. So that's that. So I've got a client at the moment who's a financial planner. So for them, they do 3 pay runs in a month. So they have the admin staff that get paid fortnightly. They've got 1 staff member that gets paid on the 1st of the month. And then they've got their financial advisors that gets paid once a month. So that's the flexibility of these systems, that they'll allow us to do 3 different pay runs. And it will only have the staff members that are involved in those pay runs show up, which help us with our management not to miss anyone, but also our accuracy in them. Multiple pay rates. So if you've got staff, especially in the hospitality industry where they have their different rates, it's quite easy for people to then work out what they need to do and can easily enter the data for that. Built-in timesheets. I know quite a few clients use that. And they find it really easy, especially with the retail industry where they've got lots of young staff members who have different hours every week. That makes it easy when they come to do their payroll. Employee leave, well, that's a definite yes, especially with Fair Work at the moment. You need to make sure that you are accurately reporting it. And all these systems will give your staff members a pay slip, which is one of the requirements that you should do as an employer. So that's important. Detailed payroll reports, that's the reports that we use to reconcile things. So that's quite important. If something goes wrong or there's a mistake or someone questions something, we can use the reports to actually pull out the information. Or if you're having trouble with something reconciling, it's easy for us as the accountant or your bookkeeper to pick up where the mistake went. And SuperStream, I think we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
That's probably, yep.
Yeah, so I was just going to say some of the other points on here we've kind of touched on throughout the webinar, but I'm going to jump over here to check the add-ons section of your accounting system for more online payroll system and other options. So this is a screenshot from Xero. I'm just going to exit my presentation mode and show you very quickly on my screen, you know, Xero add-ons. Hopefully everyone can see my screen here. So we just go on, is it add-ons or marketplace there, Mel? Might be marketplace.
It might be marketplace, I think you find.
So you can just do a simple Google like this for whatever system you're using, even if it's mild, and see what sort of add-ons are available. So you can come down here and you can search by function or your business type as well. You can also do a search up here as well. So if you were looking for a dedicated time tracking type add-on, you can search for time tracking and look for that app function. And it'll show you all the different ones available. You've got reviews, a brief description, etc. Tells you what sort of business types and that kind of thing. So do check that out with the online system that you're using. And sometimes it's surprising. Sometimes there's a really cool add-on that you didn't even know about. So sometimes it's just handy to actually have a bit of a browse through these and go, wow, I didn't even think that that could be a thing, but that could be so useful to me in my business.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing the time that you can save with some of those. And a lot of them will feed into the top three. Your MyOb, your Xero, and your QuickBooks Online. I'm not sure with Zoo. I think a lot of them are starting to feed into there, but I know they feed into the others. So it's just looking for what you need. I think the key at the moment is just asking people if you've got something that you're doing manually or something that you'd like to speed up. It's just finding if there's a cost-effective solution out there.
absolutely. So Click Super and SuperStream, can you tell us a little bit more about these? Because these are, you know, a bit of a game changer in the space of online accounting, right, when it comes to just making life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, so from 1st of July last year, you had to use a SuperStream product to pay your super to be compliant as an employee, as an employer, if you had employees other than the business owners involved. But some people did the product a lot better than others. So a lot of you might be using products with your super providers like Sun Super and those sort of people. If you're on Xero or MyOb, or look at their super products, because for me, I use Xero for my personal business accounts, and Click Super means that I click one button, it picks up all the staff super for that period that needs to be paid. I get a code to my phone, I type the code in, and that then takes the money from my bank account and sends it to the 9 different super funds, plus it sends a report to the 9 different super funds of who the super's for and how it's coded, whether it's salary sacrifice or it's employer contributions. Whereas previously I had clients that would have, if they had 9 employees, it could take them an hour to do the super by the time they wrote all the checks or went online and paid them, sent the forms, either email or fax to the different super funds. And the other benefit now is I've actually got a report then that I can pull from Xero to show the date I paid my super, which means if the tax office ever questions whether I paid my super on time, it's there in black and white. Because especially if you're a director of a company or in a trust, these are things that you're personally liable, that if you don't pay your staff super and your pay as you go, you can personally be liable for that if it's not paid on time and correctly. And it's probably the area I see the most audit from the tax office, is employees who let the tax office know that you haven't paid their super. So it's something that if you've got the reports and that, it just will make your business life so much easier.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's basically the end of the presentation tonight, guys. There's been lots of questions coming through on chat throughout the webinar, but if you've got any other questions, we've got a couple of minutes before we wrap up. I am going to just give you a quick run through some of the other things coming up with the Level Up program. So while I do that, feel free to get your questions in on the chat and we will pop back to them in a few minutes. So the Level Up program, basically it's covering off 12 topics, which you can see on screen here. We're halfway through the program as of this evening, level 6, which is obviously accounting and payroll. Next week, sorry, not next week, the Tuesday after, the 27th of April, we'll be presenting level 7, which is about, you know, company procedures, online systems, wikis, Dropbox, Google Drive, Google Sites, etc. So it's basically about how you can sort of take, you know, a lot of, you know, paper systems and folders and turn them into online systems for staff. So that was a pretty cool one. Level 8 is one of my personal favourite topics, which is on automations and how you can get some of your different business applications speaking to each other, which is really cool. I love this stuff. It's another way to find amazing efficiencies in your business by, you know, just getting multiple programs communicating together and syncing data, which is really, really cool. Level 9, we look at some CRMs and PBX phone systems, etc. Level 10 is more about customer satisfaction, creating online surveys, polls, and more. Level 11, we move more into online learning management systems. So that won't be relevant to everyone. But if you're, you know, a service-based business or someone that charges for your time, a consultant, etc., you know, you might be interested in learning a little bit more about an online learning management system and how you can maybe further monetize your knowledge. As part of that webinar or that topic, we'll also be looking at project management systems as well. Level 12, we wrap things up with looking a little bit deeper into open data and how you can use it in your business, as well as data analytics and reporting systems. We'll touch on Google Analytics, business KPIs, etc. So the options on how to participate in this program is you can attend these webinars, which are absolutely free, or $25 to access the recordings. Now, forgive me if I'm telling you the wrong information, but I believe all the webinars post-presentation are going to be free from now on, so that's a big plus. We'll also upload the webinars into the online portal. The best value for this program, thanks again to the Sunshine Coast Council, who have heavily subsidised the fee, is to actually register in the full program. Now, what that gives you is not just access to all the webinars, but we have 4 live workshops throughout the Sunshine Coast. So they're half-day in-person workshops with workbooks and, you know, lots of cool stuff, different presenters, you know, people there to talk to, etc. They're $75 per workshop, or if you're a full program participant, they are free. In fact, Mel's going to be presenting at our next webinar along with James Collishaw, who's the head of small business banking for ANZ. So if you're interested in also talking to, you know, a banking representative about bank feeds, FPOS, merchant facilities, anything like that, come along. There'll be 4 or 5 people from ANZ at that next workshop as well. I'll bring the dates up for you in a moment. Also for full program participants, so yeah, free attendance at all the workshops. All the webinars are available to you. You get access to the online portal where we recap on all the resources, pop a recording of the webinar there for you. But this is a really cool aspect from a support perspective. You also get access to program mentors. So basically free one-on-one time for you to discuss, you know, particular challenges in your business or recap on perhaps one of the topics you need to learn more about. So various different mentors available on the program with different areas of expertise. So amazing to be able to tap into that knowledge. The price for the full program is $295, but you can actually not just register for yourself, you're able to bring along 3 participants to any of that content. So that's really cool. It's basically 4 people for $295. What you've missed out on to date, don't worry, it's all available online and you can catch up in no time. So yeah, 12 modules, 12 webinars, 4 live workshops. Each of those workshops covers roughly 3 topics, and they're half a day in person. We encourage you to bring along your laptop and sort of do some, you know, active research while listening. And finally, there's a private Facebook group as well for full program participants so that you can jump online, ask questions, and you know, basically lean on the support of other members and mentors who are also involved in that group as well. So to book a session, if you're a full program participant, if you'd like to book a session with a mentor, take advantage of that, guys. It's, you know, I think that's one area where you can get enormous value from this program. Simply jump into the online portal. There's a page in there where you simply fill out a form, request who you would like your session with. These are some of our mentors or digital champions, some of which you've heard on previous webinars. That's a Facebook group, and here we are here. So we've got webinar 7, sorry, I think these dates might be slightly out of whack, but we've got workshop 2, which is next Friday, 20th of June, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. If you'd like to come along to that, jump on and register. I believe there's still some spots available. So all of this information is available on the Level Up website at levelup.sunshinecoast.queensland.gov.au. You can see all the upcoming events, webinars there, and also register for them as well. So guys, that's it. I'm just going to jump back to the chat and see if we have any further questions. Make sure we haven't missed anything. Thank you so much to everyone who has attended. Just going back to some of the comments, no specific questions have come through. I think most of them came through throughout, but Fiona has said she absolutely loves Xero Payroll. Christine has said that ABA is great and lots of time saving in reconciliations as well. So I believe that was to do with Xero Payroll, Christine. Yes, setup of payroll is an investment, just going back. Christine also said the simplicity of payment summaries is also wonderful, and she wishes that Maya would allow 2 years run at a time. There's always something. There's usually a limitation with every system. Where are we? I think that's everything, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, particularly on a cool Tuesday evening. We'll let everyone get back to kids and family and dinner and all the rest of it. Thank you so much, Mel, for joining me as the presenter this evening. Your knowledge is invaluable. And
No problem.
yeah, we absolutely look forward to seeing you again at the workshop next Friday. Guys, if you've really enjoyed hearing from Mel, come along next Friday and pick her brain.
I think it's next Tuesday.
Oh, sorry, next Tuesday, the 20th. Of course it is. My gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you for that correction. Yeah, of course it is. Today's the 13th, so Tuesday next week. Apologies for that oversight.
Okay.
Yeah. So come along, chat to Mel. Obviously, there's lots of accountants, on the coast. Mel's fabulous in that she'll just give you, really straight up advice and has got lots and lots of experience across all different size businesses and lots of the accounting programs that we've discussed tonight. So guys, we'll wrap it up there. This recording will be available online from tomorrow. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.